Hi guys! To celebrate my 100 subscribers, I thought I owed you guys a tutorial, as a lot of you have been asking for about the last 6 months. Do tutorials, do tutorials. But just so that you know, I don't want my channel to become a tutorial channel, so this is a one-off. So the first thing is Promarkers are quite difficult to do skin tones with, or do anything with really. You have to be quite careful with them because it's pretty much do or die. It will either go right or it will end up a complete disaster. So all that being said, so the first thing you want to do is put down a base colour. I'm using ivory for this picture. I'm just going to speed it up so that you don't get bored of watching me colour this whole picture. And it really doesn't matter if it looks kind of streaky and a mess. You don't want to spend ages trying to get it perfectly smooth with no lines in it, because it is just a base colour and you're going to want to build on it. So you just want to quickly slap all the colour on there. Obviously you want it to be kind of smooth, but it really doesn't matter. So next you're going to want to start with your kind of mid-tones and kind of work out where you want your shadows to go. And a lot of how you do this is really down to your wrist as well, because it's not like the flex markers. Flex markers you're going to get a much different effect, and it's a lot easier because you can just stroke the brush like it's paintbrush and blend it together. But with Promarkers you really have to flick your wrist so that the colour slightly fades away. I also just want to point out that there's actually no difference in the techniques of using like Copic markers, because I know there's a lot of tutorials out there on how to colour using Copics, and using Promarkers is pretty much exactly the same technique as that. So the next thing you want to do is go back over your midtones with your lighter colour, just to blend out the lines and smooth it out a lot. I forgot to mention as well that I was using almond for the midtones, and I'll be using putty to darken the shadows later on. So that's pretty much it, and then you can just go back and redo that a few times. Do it on the face, work out where your shadows are going to go. And it's actually quite a good idea to leave actually a gap around the edge of the face as well, because then it's a gap of light colour, because then it kind of gives you a slightly 3D effect to your picture. So you don't want to colour right up to the lines. Yeah, it'll look better. It will give the impression of light reflecting off the side of her face. Okay, I'm just going to speed this bit up now as you get the general idea of where to put your base tones. Okay, so with that out of the way, you're now going to want to go in with the darkest colour, and you're going to want to do this mostly in the corners. You don't want to go too far, otherwise it's just going to end up too dark and looking like a bit of a mess. So just slap that on, and then you're going to want to go back over it with your mid-toned and then your lightest colour to get a smooth blend going. And you're going to want to repeat this on the whole face and darken certain bits. I mean, on faces it's usually good to go slightly under the eyes, around the eyes, the nose, and around the side of the face. Something else to note as well when you're blending is you do have to be quite careful when you go back over with your light colour, because the more you go over the dark areas, the darker they will get, and you'll end up having trouble blending it in the end as well, because you'll also get the effect of you'll end up making your light areas too dark as well, and it will just end up not looking as good as you'd hoped it would. It's also worth pointing out as well that people who are actually any good at this use a lot more than 3 colours on skins, but I don't really have the confidence to put in the blues and the purples for the more realistic skin tones yet. I need to do some experimentation with that. So I'm far from like the best person out there, so I always thought it was a bit weird that everyone kept asking me to do these tutorials, because my colouring is not that good. But yeah, just the main point to remember is always with this wrist action with these pictures, you really have to just flick it. So you might want to get some practice in it. Wrist flicking can become a new hobby. Well, that's about it for the picture. You just need to go back over the dark colours with the light colours, blend it all out again, and then you will have one finished picture. Yeah, so I hope this was somewhat informative for you. I know there's tons of other tutorials out there, but this was my take on it of how I do it with Promarkers. There's some other good colour combinations to use as well. Instead of using the ivory, almond and putty that I used here, you could also substitute the ivory for satin. That works quite well. Or instead you could do satin, blush and dusky pink. That one works quite well because the colours are much similar, so they blend a bit better than using the ivory, which is a bit too yellow for this picture. So there's quite a few mistakes in it. But anyway, that's it for the picture and the drawing, and I hope this was useful to you, and thank you very much for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye!